Okay. So have you ever like sat down to work and then suddenly, bam, you're like, I don't know, scrolling through cat videos for an hour?
Oh, yeah, tell me about it. In this day and age, with all the notifications and everything focusing, it's a superpower, basically.
Right. And that's where this thing called EON Flow comes in. It's from EON Reality, and they're making some pretty wild claims.
Oh, yeah, like you're talking 500% more productive, creative. They're saying like 4 to 700%.
Yeah, and learning 2 to 500% faster.
Crazy, right?
So let's take a deep dive and figure out like what is this EON Flow? How does it even work? And most importantly, is it actually for real or just like hype?
Well, to get EON flow, we got to start with flow state, right?
Yeah.
It's not just like being in the zone. It's more like you're totally absorbed in what you're doing, you're energized, you're at your peak. This psychologist, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, he like studied flow and found that people are happiest and most productive when they're in this state.
So you're saying it's about working smarter, not harder.
Yeah, exactly. It's like ideas just come naturally and you get stuff done way faster.
And EON Flow is supposed to make this like flow state happen.
Yeah, so they're saying it uses this combo of augmented reality, virtual reality, and AI to like get you into flow and keep you there.
So instead of fighting distractions, it creates an environment for focus.
Yeah, pretty much. So you've got AR, VR, and AI. So like picture this. You're working on something and suddenly, boom, 3D models pop up right on your desk. That's AR. Or you want to work in a peaceful forest or a busy city, VR can just take you there, all without leaving your chair.
That's wild. Okay, but hold on. What about the AI? Where does that fit in?
Well, the AI, that's the brains of the operation. It makes things personal, like tasks and stuff. It also gives you feedback and makes your workflow better. It's almost like having this super smart assistant always there to help you out.
So it's not just blocking distractions. It's more like actively pushing you toward that flow state.
Exactly. And Eon Flow's got these features that really help. One of them is natural language problem definition. I think that's what they call it.
Catchy.
Right. So instead of messing around with complicated project software, you just tell Eon Flow what you want in plain English, like, hey, I need to design a website.
So it breaks it down for you.
Yeah, and then it figures out the steps to make it happen. And then there's AI-driven ideation. So the AI gives you ideas for tasks based on your goal, keeps you moving.
Keeps you from getting stuck, huh?
Yep. And then there's this thing, no-code XR prototyping, which basically means even I could create my own AR and VR environments.
Wait, really?
Yeah, no coding skills needed.
This all sounds super futuristic, but is this just for, tech geniuses?
Not at all. Eon Flow is meant to be for everyone. You can use it on smartphones, PCs, AR glasses, VR headsets, whatever you've got. And it uses their platform, EON-R, which, get this, already has like 40 million users.
Wow. Okay, so paint me a picture. Let's say I want to write a screenplay. How would EON Flow help me get in that flow state and actually finish the thing?
All right, so first, you tell Eon Flow your goal, write a screenplay, nice and simple. Then the AI jumps in, breaks it down into smaller steps, maybe suggests some tools for characters or plotting.
So it's like having a writing partner and a really, really organized assistant all in one?
That's a great way to put it. Then you pick your environment, maybe a virtual library or a coffee shop, whatever works for you. And then you write, no distractions, and the AI is there giving you feedback, keeping you on track.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how this could be a game changer. It's not just about blocking out the noise. It's about actually getting you into that flow state where, magic happens.
Right,
But
exactly.
can it really live up to all the hype? I guess we'll find out in part 2 of our deep dive.
So we're back, diving deep into Eon Flow. We've talked about flow state, how Eon Flow uses AR, VR, and AI, all that jazz. But does it really work?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. It sounds awesome on paper, but can tech actually, create those moments of, pure focus?
Well, EON Reality, they're pointing to a lot of research on flow state, actual science.
Mm-hmm.
And the research shows that flow state can boost creativity, speed up learning, even improve physical performance.
So, the potential's there. But can EON Flow actually tap into it?
They say so, and they've got these case studies to back it up. Like, there's this high school, they used EON Flow to teach kids about human cells, but in VR.
In VR, whoa.
Yeah, and get this. Students remembered 30% more compared to just reading a textbook.
That's a pretty big difference. But is that just because VR is new and exciting, or is there something more to it?
It's not just about the headset, right? It's about creating an experience. Like instead of just reading about cells, students can actually see them in 3D, mess around with them, get instant feedback, all in this super realistic virtual world.
So it's learning by doing, not just memorizing.
Exactly. And that hands-on learning plus being in VR where there are no distractions, well, that's the perfect recipe for flow state.
And have they seen results like this in like the workplace too?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They talk about this one study where uh, managers practice making decisions under pressure, like in a crisis situation.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but they did it in VR. So instead of just reading about how to be a good leader, they're thrown into these like realistic scenarios where they have to make tough choices and they can see how their choices play out right away.
So like a flight simulator for leadership.
Exactly. You learn from your mistakes, but without like real world consequences. Pretty cool, huh?
That's a great analogy. And they also mention benefits for individual productivity, like that graphic designer who uses EON Flow to work in this distraction-free VR studio.
Mm.
And the AI, like, handles all the boring stuff.
Right. It's all about freeing up your brain power.
Hmm.
We only have so much, and when we're constantly bombarded with emails and notifications, it drains us.
So it's like offloading all the little things to the AI so you can focus on, the big creative stuff.
Yeah, that's the idea. That's where Eon Flow's claim of like 500% more productivity starts to make a little more sense. Imagine being able to just focus on what you're doing without all those distractions.
Okay, I see what you mean. That would be amazing for, like, artists and writers and stuff. But what about those of us with more, everyday tasks? Can Eon Flow help me get through my inbox or, like, finally fold that laundry?
Well, that's the cool thing about Eon Flow. Remember, it's not just VR. They're making it work on phones, PCs, AR, glasses, all that.
So even if I'm not ready to, go full VR, I can still use the AI to help me stay on top of things.
Exactly. Think about it. You could be writing a report and the AI could suggest research or check your grammar in real time. Or imagine cleaning your house and having these AR overlays that like guide you through it, remind you what to do next. Maybe even play some music to keep you going.
Okay, now you're speaking my language. But even with all these amazing possibilities, I can't help but wonder about the downsides. Like, could we become too dependent on tech, even more than we already are?
That's a good question, and it's something we should definitely talk about.
So we're back, and we've been talking about all the cool stuff Eon Flow can do, but now I think it's time to get real, like, what about the downsides? What about the ethical stuff?
Yeah, you're right. Got to look at both sides. Let's start with education. We talked about those amazing results like kids learning about cells in VR and remembering way more. But what about, access? Not every school can afford fancy VR headsets and all that.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to create a system where only some kids get to experience this, like immersive learning.
Right. Tech should be about making education better for everyone, not just like the privileged few. If Eon Flow is really going to revolutionize learning, it's got to be available to everybody.
Okay, and then there's the big question that always comes up with AI, jobs. If AI can do more and more, what happens to us? Are we all going to be replaced by robots?
I don't think it's about robots taking over. It's more like how can humans and AI work together, Like Eon Flow, it's a good example of how AI can help us take over the boring stuff so we can focus on the things that humans are good at, like creativity and thinking outside the box.
So we should be learning how to work with AI, not be scared of it.
Yeah, I think so. Like being able to adapt is going to be super important, and also those human skills that machines can't do, like emotional intelligence, working together, stuff like that.
That makes sense. But I still worry a little, like, what if we become so reliant on AI that we forget how to, like, focus on our own?
I get that. It's all about balance, right? Technology should help us, not do everything for us. We should use Eon Flow to get better at focusing, not just let it do all the work.
So we need to find that balance,
Yeah.
use the tech, but also work on our own focus skills.
Exactly. And be mindful. Like, set limits on screen time. Do things that make our brains work, like reading or talking to people, getting out in nature. It's about being smart about how we use tech and not letting it take over.
And then, of course, there's the ethical side of AI, like algorithms. They're going to be shaping how we work and learn. So how do we make sure they're fair, that they're not biased?
Yeah, that's a huge question. We need to be aware of potential biases and make sure there are checks and balances. Humans need to be involved in these AI systems. The choices we make now will shape the future.
So for our listeners out there, it sounds like EON Flow is a glimpse into the future, right? Tech that can help us do amazing things. But there are some big questions we need to think about.
For sure. Embrace the good stuff, but keep your eyes open for the potential problems.
Hmm.
Ask questions, think critically about how tech can help us be better, not just control us.
Well said. I think EON Flow, whether it turns out to be as amazing as they say or not, is making us think about the role of tech in our lives. So keep exploring these ideas, be curious, and remember, technology should empower us, not take over. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into EON Flow.
Absolutely. Until next time.